Wherever Christians gather these days, one word echoes incessantly: revival. It's a term that reverberates through the hallowed halls of churches, interweaves itself into the fabric of our hymns, and finds a home in our most heartfelt prayers. It's a concept we latch onto, fervently believing in its power to solve our spiritual quandaries. The notion of revival is not just confined to our personal beliefs. It extends its reach into the realm of religious journalism, where it's hailed as the panacea for the spiritual ailments of our time. Editors, with their fingers firmly on the pulse of the religious zeitgeist, eagerly champion this sentiment, publishing articles that extol the virtues of a mighty old-time revival. The concept of revival has become so ingrained in our religious discourse that it takes on a life of its own. Like an unchallenged monarch, it rules over our spiritual dialogues with an iron fist. Few dare to question it, even though the truth might be hiding in the shadows, waiting to be discovered. Religion, much like other aspects of human life such as politics, fashion, and philosophy, is influenced by trends. And these trends, they come and go, ebbing and flowing like the tides of the sea. They rise to the surface, bask in the glory of their heyday, and then gradually recede into the annals of history, leaving behind a legacy that is sometimes forgotten, other times revered. In the grand tapestry of human history, we've seen the rise and fall of major religions, the waxing and waning of religious fervor. And these peaks and troughs, these periods of resurgence and decline, they're often labeled as revivals by historians. But is revival always the solution to our spiritual struggles? Or is it a trend that we've clung onto, a trend that perhaps needs to be examined, questioned, and maybe even challenged? History illustrates the rise and fall of major religions, labeled plainly as revivals by historians. Consider that Islam experiences a revival in some regions, while recent reports show a remarkable comeback of Shintoism in Japan after World War II. The concept of revival, though often associated with Christianity, is not exclusive to it. Across the globe, we see a resurgence of faith, a rejuvenation of religious fervor in various forms and traditions. In the realms of Islam, tajdid, or revival, is a recurring theme. It represents the rejuvenation of religious life, a return to the original principles of Islam. It is often spurred by a sense of disconnect from authentic Islamic values, leading to a call for a return to the faith's pristine state. Shifting our gaze to the Far East, we observe a unique revival in Shintoism. Post-World War II Japan witnessed a resurgence of this indigenous faith, a revival not driven by a desire for spiritual awakening, but more as a symbol of national identity and unity. A remarkable comeback indeed. Meanwhile, in the heart of the Western world, we see a different kind of revival. Roman Catholicism and liberal Protestantism surge ahead, their growth almost necessitating the term revival to define their progress. However, this is not always accompanied by a noticeable elevation in moral conduct. The focus here tends to be more on inclusivity and social justice, rather than a return to fundamental religious principles. In all these instances, we observe a common thread: a desire for spiritual renewal, a yearning for a return to the roots of faith. Yet we must question if this revival truly brings about a transformative change in the individual and society. Yet, a religious boom, including popular Christianity, can occur devoid of the transforming influence of the Holy Spirit. It's essential to understand that a revival, though it may lead to a surge in religious activities and participation, does not automatically translate into a deep, meaningful transformation. It might merely treat symptoms instead of the underlying spiritual ailments, leaving future generations worse off. Thus, the question remains: are we seeking a revival or a deeper transformation? In these circumstances, I argue that what we truly need isn't revival. While the word revival has a comforting ring to it, promising a return to a golden age of faith, it's worth questioning whether this is what we really need, or even if it's achievable. Revivals are often tied to nostalgia, a yearning for a time when faith seemed purer, simpler. But history isn't a circle that we can traverse back and forth at will. It's a river, flowing inexorably forward. We cannot return to a previous era, no matter how much we may long to do so. Moreover, revivals can be problematic. They often emphasize emotional experiences and personal transformations, which, while important, are not the whole story of faith. They can become a spectacle, a form of spiritual entertainment that distracts from the hard work of discipleship. Revivals can also create division. Those who experience the revival may feel superior to those who don't, leading to pride and judgment. This is contrary to the spirit of humility and unity that should characterize the Christian community. Furthermore, revivals are often short-lived. The intense emotion and energy of a revival can quickly fade, leaving people disillusioned and more apathetic than before. Is this the kind of spiritual renewal we want? Instead of revival, I propose that we need reformation. If revival is a firework, bright and spectacular but soon over, reformation is like a sunrise, slow and steady and bringing lasting light. Reformation is not about going back to an imagined golden age, but moving forward into a better future. Reformation means addressing the root causes of our spiritual malaise, not just the symptoms. It means changing not just individuals, but institutions and systems. It means not just believing the right things, but living them out. Reformation is harder than revival. It requires patience, persistence, and courage. But it also promises a deeper and more lasting transformation. It's not a quick fix, but a long-term solution. So let's seek reformation, not revival. Let's strive for a faith that is not just emotionally satisfying, but intellectually rigorous, ethically demanding, and socially transformative. Here's why. Years ago, as a reaction against higher criticism and modernism, Protestantism witnessed a robust movement defending the historic Christian faith, fundamentalism. This was not just a revival, but a return to the roots, a reaction to the perceived dilution of the faith. This movement, born in the early 20th century, was a response to the modernist theology that began to permeate religious thought. Fundamentalism, as the name suggests, sought to reaffirm the fundamental doctrines of the New Testament, the non-negotiable tenets of the faith. The rise of fundamentalism was not just a spiritual awakening, but a theological reformation. It sought to counteract what was perceived as a drift away from the core principles of Christianity. The aim was not just to rekindle the flame of faith, but to ensure that the fire burned with the right fuel. This was a revival, yes, but it was more than that. It was a return to the basics, a re-embrace of the foundational truths that were perceived to be under threat. It was a reassertion of the divinity of Christ, the inerrancy of Scripture, the literal nature of biblical accounts, and the physical resurrection and return of Christ. Fundamentalism was not about numbers, popularity, or trend-setting. It was about truth, as understood by those who adhered to its tenets. It was a countercultural movement that often found itself at odds with prevailing societal norms and attitudes. The rise of fundamentalism was a testament to the power of conviction, the courage to stand against the tide, the resolve to hold fast to the truths one holds dear. It was a movement that called for not just a spiritual revival, but a return to the absolute truths of the faith. This is not just a matter of historical record, but a lesson for today. Revivals, as we understand them, may not be enough. They may stir the emotions, but do they touch the heart of the faith? Do they address the core issues, or merely the symptoms? The story of fundamentalism is a reminder that revivals should be more than just a surge of spiritual fervor. They should be a return to the roots, a reaffirmation of the fundamentals. This is historical fact. Thus, I contend that mere revival won't suffice. A revival, as we have come to understand it, may bring a temporary surge of religious fervor, but it often fails to address the deeper issues. It may bring the appearance of spiritual growth, but without the root system of robust faith and understanding, it can wither and fade. Just as a tree requires deep roots to withstand storms and droughts, so too does our faith require a profound reformation that reaches to the very core of our spiritual and moral beings. We need to dig deep, to question, to challenge, to seek understanding. We need to confront the root causes of our spiritual and moral crises, not just the symptoms. Too often, we are content to apply a band-aid to a wound that requires surgery. We seek quick fixes and easy solutions, but these are rarely effective in the long term. A revival may bring a temporary sense of relief, a fleeting moment of spiritual euphoria, but it is not enough to sustain us through the trials and tribulations of life. We must not shy away from the hard work of reformation. It may be uncomfortable. It may challenge our preconceived notions and force us to confront uncomfortable truths. But it is only through this process of deep transformation that we can truly grow and evolve. The need for reformation is not a new concept. Throughout history, there have been periods of profound religious change and growth. These were times when individuals and communities took a hard look at their beliefs and practices and made significant changes. They recognized that to move forward, they had to dig deep and address the root causes of their spiritual and moral crises. Thus, we need to address causes rather than consequences, the ailment rather than its symptoms. We must strive for a reformation that is not just about outward appearances, but about inner transformation. A reformation that reshapes our hearts and minds and leads us towards a deeper, more fulfilling relationship with the divine. A reformation that is not just about revival, but about lasting, meaningful change. Let us reconsider our pursuit of revival and instead strive for a transformative reformation that transcends mere surface-level revivalism. Revival is soothing. It comforts us with the familiar, but it can also be limiting, trapping us in the cycle of the same old patterns, the same old ways. Reformation, on the other hand, challenges us to break free from the known and step into the realm of the new, the unexplored, the transformative. Reformation is not just about change, it's about radical transformation. It's about digging deep into the roots of our faith and reshaping it from the inside out. It's about daring to question the status quo, daring to challenge our beliefs, and daring to imagine a faith that is better, stronger, and more resilient. Reformation is a journey that takes us beyond the comfortable boundaries of revivalism and into the uncharted territories of spiritual growth and moral evolution. It's a journey that requires courage, determination, and an unwavering commitment to truth. This journey may be difficult, and at times it may even seem impossible. But remember, the greatest transformations often come from the greatest challenges. Just as a piece of coal needs intense pressure to become a diamond, our faith needs intense questioning and rigorous examination to become a beacon of truth, love, and compassion. So let's not settle for revival. Let's not settle for the easy path. Let's strive for reformation, for a faith that is not just revived but transformed, a faith that is not just alive but thriving, a faith that is not just about rituals and traditions but about love, compassion, and truth. Let's strive for a transformative reformation, a reformation that reshapes the very fabric of our faith, a reformation that invites us to look deeper, to think harder, and to love more passionately, a reformation that challenges us to be better, to do better, and to live better. For therein lies the true essence of rejuvenation and restoration, a reformation that reshapes the very fabric of our faith and guides us towards enduring spiritual fulfillment.